Recording initiated. I'll cut after this beginning. I'm gonna start now with the video.
Welcome to the Sustainable Events Podcast, where we talk with our special guests about the most up-to-date topics in sustainability and tech for events. This podcast is powered by Circular Unity, the company accelerating a future of sustainable smart events.
Welcome back to the Sustainable Events Podcast. I'm your host, Eduardo Lebre, CEO of Circular Unity. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Bram Vandewalle, the visionary leader behind Green Panther Sustainability Event Consultants. With 18 years of experience managing world-class events and a passion for sustainability, Bram is redefining what it means to host sustainable and profitable events. Bram, it's an honor to have you with us today. Would you tell us a bit about your journey in the events industry and what led you to focus on sustainability?
Well, first of all, thank you to invite me. It's a real honor to be in your podcast. I've listened to many of the speakers, and it's all wonderful speakers, and I admire what you do for our industry. My journey starts in 2005 in the event industry. In 2008, I decided to become an independent contractor. I was involved in tennis tournaments, the Legends Tour with Bjorn Borg and McEnroe. I was involved with golf tournaments, the European Challenge Tour. And I also was involved with equestrian events. And one of the clients was the organizer of the OD Masters, the Equestrian Masters of Brussels. And he wanted to organize two events, 2 weekends in a row, Brussels Audi Masters and Paris Gucci Masters, two capitals of Europe, the official and unofficial, for some people, not for everyone, of course. But yeah, that was easier said than done because it was financial crisis. The event in Brussels was a little bit challenging, and so it was a visionary CEO, and he said, if Brussels Paris don't work, let's do the Grand Slam like in tennis. And that was also easier said than done. But in 2013, we launched the event in Hong Kong. In 2014, we launched the event in Los Angeles. And 2015, we realized the Grand Slam and was recognized by International Federation. It was an unbelievable experience, of course. We lived for months in Hong Kong because we had to ship everything uh, to Hong Kong. We lived in LA, and the same thing. It was unprecedented events. It was the best of sport. It was show and entertainment. It was after parties. It was luxury. It was unbelievable. But at the same time, that's where things started to shift for me because the boat that had to transport everything around the globe was transporting a year long only for 12 days of events. And it really shifted for me when we, in 2015, we were the first international equestrian event in France, and I think even internationally, that was rewarded with a certificate of sustainability and horse welfare. There, I said, yeah, we need to do things differently. It was not the sustainability as we know it today. We try to optimize things, optimize costs, optimize energy, and so on. In 2018, I decided to leave that company and I wanted to empower event organizers to organize successful events, financially successful events, and also resilient, future-proof events. I studied many courses with business courses, but also lifestyle coaching and sustainability, and that really captured my heart. That was something that I realized over the years by the experience of new events like Waregem Koersen. That was one of my first new clients. That we have to do things differently. With that experience, we also organized a summit in sustainability with 20 industry leaders. For me, if we want to organize financially successful or successful events, and we want to be future proof and we want to be resilient, it has to be with sustainability as one of the key pillars. It's not the only pillar. I think there's many other pillars as well, with data, artificial intelligence, it's with content, it's with technology, but sustainability is one of the keys, of course.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your answer, Bram. You have had an incredible journey and a lot of experience that, with no doubt, is highly valuable to our listeners. You've been involved in all these wide range of events, from equestrian competitions to golf tournaments. I wonder, how have you seen the approach to sustainability vary across these different types of events, or is usually mostly the same type of approaches?
Well, I think if we speak about environmental sustainability, it always goes back to energy, transport, it goes back to food, it goes back to waste. So I think there's very similar components. I think there's a big difference between indoor events and outdoor events. With our outdoor events, we will face climate change more and more. We've seen that this year with events that were canceled due to lack of water or by the government. Indoor events, mainly exhibitions that are built from scratch. They have to deal with temporary infrastructure and they have to deal with transport. So that's, I think, a real difference. And of course, there is specific needs in each industry. In the golf tournaments, they need to track the golf course, the competition course, and it needs a lot of water. With tennis, there are tennis tournaments with fixed infrastructure, but there is also temporary infrastructure with specific footing. I don't know if you say footing in horses, it's footing, but in competitions for tennis, there was a specific underground, and that was by a Spanish company who had to transport the specific underground. With equestrian events is similar. There's a specific underground that needs some water, but we also have to deal with horse welfare, and sustainability is also specific, not only about environmental sustainability. We have to deal with animal rights organization and so on. So there is very similar things, but also specific needs that needs to be considered.
Definitely. In 2015, you played a pivotal role in making the Longness Master of Paris the first international equestrian event in France to receive the sustainability and the horse welfare certificate. Can you tell us more about this achievement and its significance?
Well, it's not sustainability as we know it today. It was in 2015. It was still, I feel, a different world. But they measured what we did with our energy consumption, and they controlled what we did with the water consumption. And we worked hand in hand with the venue, and we always. It were events with a high budget. It was a 5 to 6 million euro budget, so we had to optimize things. And it was not always, to be honest with you, it was not always because of sustainability, and it was not always because of we want to do better for the world. We tried to optimize it to reduce the cost. We did things well for our horses. We did air ventilations in the stabling in the winter while they are indoor. And we did that because we love our horses. We didn't do that because we were thinking we need to do something on sustainability. And I think that's also what I have learned by experience, that it's sustainability is also about practical things. It's not only about the theoretical thing, and we need to find solutions in balance with what we do.
I completely agree with you, and how Green Panther emphasizes redefining sustainability beyond just environmental concerns, but going through more sort of a holistic approach where everything that it touches us and has a significance we need to tackle it. Yeah. Thank you very much for your answer, Bram. You um, you also served as Secretary General of the International Equestrian Organizers Alliance. How has this role influenced your perspective on sustainability in the events industry?
Well, I'm still the Secretary General of Jumping Organizers worldwide, and I think together with the experience that we have on organizing events in Europe, Asia, and the USA, I think there is a difference between the north of Europe and the south of Europe. There's a difference between the west coast and the east coast. There is a difference between the Middle East and Asia. There is a difference because there is a different history. Germany and Great Britain, they have a long history in philanthropy. So that's really cultured in their that's really in their culture, while in Belgium is not the same. So the difference in history and culture makes that we are not speaking all about the same thing, and we don't have all the same vision, and we don't have all the same needs between Europe and USA. Europe wants to be the first carbon neutral continent by 2050, but they want to reduce its carbon emissions by 55% in 2030. 2030, that's tomorrow. That's high
Yeah, very
ambitious.
close.
That's very close. That's creates a specific need, and that will also create a ruling about it. So I think and I believe that we are still at the beginning of that, and I think it will start now, especially in Europe, with reporting in 2024 for the 50 biggest companies. So that's the first process that will accelerate these things, and I think that will also accelerate and have an impact on our events, because even if there are no ruling for our events, these companies who partner with our events will set standards for our events as well, if we want to keep them as as a partner. If they have to do this reporting for their company, they cannot sponsor other events that are completely not sustainable. So I really believe that this will accelerate things, but still it's still in the beginning.
Okay, very good point. Bram, what advice would you give for event organizers who are looking to make their events more sustainable? How do they start?
Well, yeah, how do they start? I think it's important to know what is their vision. Where do they want to be with their event in 5 to 7 years? Because as we said, that's 5 years, that's like tomorrow, and 7 years, that's 2030. So where do you see the vision of your event? I think it's important to have that vision. It's also important to have that strategic approach on how to get there. But I also think that it's important to see the role of the event. What is your social role of your event? I think it's a big opportunity, because this can position your event in a unique way. But how do you want to position your event? How do you see that social role in a broader perspective? And how can you contribute to a better world? I think for me that's the basis of everything. And if you have that vision, if you have that uh, clarity, then you can work towards that goal. Because otherwise, I think, as we said, it's we don't always face the same urgency, like the climate change. There is a real climate urgency, and we don't always face that urgency in our business, and because there is no ruling, and we often hear that what people need to do, what do they want to do, how do they see they invest millions of euros to organize events, and then I don't think that they organize events to be climate carbon neutral. But they will have to comply with that, of course, and it will have to be one of their strategic approaches.
Definitely. I, I believe that more and more, although today event objectives are never becoming sustainable, this comes as a secondary thing. They are done usually to launch a product, put people together, different industries, and various reasons. And I completely agree with you that more and more they will be asked not only by regulations and laws, but also by their sponsors, by the investors, by the audience, by the artists, by the athletes, and so on, regardless of the type of the event.
But
We
I
are ready
think
to
that,
see this now.
sorry to interrupt you, that's the great opportunity that we still have, and that's what I say. It's a little bit strange to say because there's that real climate urgency, but at the same time we don't experience that same urgency in our business, and that gives us also the opportunity to position our events and do things differently. I think most of our organizers want to organize a nice event, well organized, make some money, and they reduce risks to make sure that they can continue that event. They I'm not sure that they organize the events to be carbon neutral, but if they want to future proof their event, and if they want to keep continue the money and reducing the risks, they will have to anyway. But as we said, it's not a ruling yet, so they can find their way, position themselves, take it as a business opportunity, and that's
Competitive
the advantage
advantage.
that we have. But at the same time, we need to do something that is impactful. We need to do something that has a real impact, because it's not about doing something to do something. There is that urgency of the climate, of course.
Completely agree here. And well, the big contracts will be coming always from the public companies. Public companies are already obliged to report those. So if small and medium companies want to get those big contracts, they will have to not in 2027 or 2030, but already from today to become compliant in order to have more favorable decisions in that
Yeah.
sense. Um, all right. Bram, could you share with us some of these strategies or initiatives that you've implemented to make events more sustainable?
Well, some elements that we did is this year we did our build up and breakdown on solar panels and battery packs. So we didn't use diesel generators at all anymore during the build up and the breakdown. So we were able to reduce it by 30% of diesel consumption just doing that. During the event, we also use these battery packs, but we still have peaks, so we need to be careful and learn from that experience. We used
How did
vaping.
you got those? Did you manage to rent? Is it was easy to find?
Um, yeah, we were able to rent them, and we did a partnership because that's also an opportunity for the company to present their product. So we always speak about what it's the cost, but there is also, as I say, there is still a lot of opportunities. So we did a good partnership, and at the same time, you reduce your diesel consumption as well. So you
Right.
save also costs. So for us was a good deal because I don't think we invested a lot more money. We by optimizing things by the partnership, and at the same time we are having an impactful decision. That doesn't make our event sustainable, but that's one step towards it, and it's I think it's a good step in the right direction. And that's the same with our vacuum toilets. They consume only 1 liter compared to 9 liters. So that's
Big
almost
difference.
that's 90%. But with all the toilets overall during the entire event, we saved, I think, more than 100,000 liters of waters. So that was another thing. We had of course, reusable cups. We had electric generators. Something that we did this year is that we centralized the drinks in one central place in Belgium and transported them all together. So reduced transport, and they were transported by electric truck. So that was something that was new for this year as well.
I was talking
We
about electric trucks with people from the theater industry. That they have a lot of problems with the freight transportation as well, like you were mentioning earlier. And I wonder here as well, how easy was for you to find a company that could do the freights with electric trucks?
Again, we have a good partner. We have AB InBev, and they are really innovative in everything what they do with sustainability. And we discussed the new partnership. Of course, you discuss financial aspects, but we also discuss what could we do and what could we optimize. And they said, yeah, we are really investing now in electric truck. They don't have hundreds of trucks, so it's still limited. And it's only one truck, so we don't have all the trucks, electric trucks. But again, that's a small step. It's still a small step, but it's a step in a good direction that helps. Also, because when we speak about sustainability, we speak about the whole ecosystem, and we need to include everyone. And if companies start doing things, the other ones will follow as well. So we need to inspire on that perspective as well.
Definitely. I think the key here is really everyone working together. I love that.
Yeah. And
And
on
it's
the
the only way that we
sorry.
actually can make an impact is if everyone from the audience to the suppliers to the partners to the sponsors to the production team all work together with a single goal. So it's very good to hear this, Bram.
And then on the social aspects, we included unemployed people in our organization. We work together with an organization that it's really structured. We want to, and it's from the local city, so they know the event. They are really proud to be involved in the event. Even sometimes it's some people are a little bit scared because they feel that they should not be part of it. So we have trainings, we have supervisors during the event, and we want to really give them a good experience. And after the event, they receive a certificate that they can use to when they apply for a job. So that was one of the things we did there. We have a social ticket for people who suffer, families who suffer financially, that they can come for a really reduced price to the event. So if it's a party for everyone, it should be really everyone. And we also have a zone for disabled and elder people, elder citizen, that they come and enjoy the event. A last thing that I want to share is that we also started a competition, is the horse race for brain. It's a competition where companies compete against each other in their proper colors. So they really participate at the horse race competition, but they do that for a good cause. It's for brain. 1 in 3 people are affected by a brain disorder, is a dementia, Alzheimer, tumor. There are more than 10 brain disorders, but only 1 in 10 financial resources go to brain research. So there we wanted to create awareness, but with that competition, they can choose their own organization, but it has to be in the mission of For Brain. And now we collected, it's still small, but we collected now with 3 years of event 20,000 euros for brain research. And we also were prime time in the news on national television with that concept. So it helped to create that
Congratulations.
awareness. And the last thing is that we work together with animal rights organization. We work hand in hand to see how we can improve our event. And this year, after 20 years of collaboration, they send out a press release to congratulate, and that was a good event. And that's also important that you work together and that they were promoting what was done well, because most of the time they communicate when things don't go well. But this year they really promoted that, and that's also helpful for other equestrian events.
When things go bad, everyone is so fast to start pointing fingers. Yeah, I'd like to
Exactly.
see this more. That everyone
Exactly.
celebrates every small or big success needs to be celebrated. Every small steps also counts. Um, Thank you, Bram, for sharing. I want to change a little bit the topic quickly. In the recent years, we have seen an increase in greenwashing,
Mhm.
where companies claim to be sustainable without substantial evidence or action. In your view, how do organizations, events, productions, how do they navigate this issue in our industry? And what can we do to combat this?
Well, greenwashing, of course, is a significant problem because communication is key in transitioning to a more sustainable world. So sometimes I've heard once that they compare sustainability and transformation like prior internet and after internet. So I don't know if it has such an impact, to be honest, but I still believe that it will have a real impact, and we are still in the beginning of that transitioning. So we need to learn a lot. We will, what we do today will be old fashioned in 3, 4, 5 years. So imagine what it will be in 20 years. So communication is really key in that transitioning. And of course, if people do on greenwashing, it's when they mislead on purpose. But sometimes we don't know that we don't give the right communication. So, but if it's really on purpose, uh, honestly, I think in the long term, it will hit their brand, it will hit their event, they will lose clients, they will lose sponsors. I think, excuse me, transparency is key. Tools like Circle Unity are key in that, and we transition also to a more sustainable world. So everything becomes more sustainable, but of course we also need to be careful with the transparency, because we as an industry also are still transitioning to more sustainable. We as an industry are not completely sustainable or even at the beginning of sustainability. So we need to be also careful in the transparency of what we do. But for me, it's key that transparency, communication are key elements, and in the long term, I'm convinced that if people don't do it in the right way, they will be out rather soon or late.
Love a few things that you say there, Bram. One thing is transparency. Yeah. For people to trust your brand, trust your event, your
Mm.
organization, transparency is really the key. Take examples like I always mention this one, but I don't get tired. When Patagonia said that over 50% of their supply chain uh, suffers with slavery conditions. Um, they're not putting under the carpet, and they say how they are tackling the issue and their commitment. It makes people that read these trust that their next message will be also truth, and
Mm.
builds really a trust between your brand and the consumer of your brand. And I also really liked what you talked about. Sometimes company can even greenwash without knowing. Communication is really the key. How we use the words, how we label our services or products. Paying special attention now to the new EU regulations to come against greenwashing would be highly important for organizations to not suffer the consequences of miscommunication. And I extend this a bit further. I've been talking with a lot of people from the creative industries and the hospitality industry in general, and sometimes even the frameworks that we have in place to perform calculations on carbon counting of events in hospitality industry. It's very common that we calculate, for example, things on volume base, as an example of waste, where volume is dependent of the type of the waste and the size of container, bin, etc. And those things are like ranges. So, for example, a dumpster full of glass has a certain average weight, depending of the volume calculated for it, that if the glass is broken or is full, the weight will be completely different, maybe 300 kilos, maybe 1,200 kilos.
Yeah.
So we must choose something in the middle there. But because of these kind of choices that many frameworks had to do in different industries, today it's very hard to report weight in a very accurate way, measured by real weight. I've been noticing this problem, and what it means is that companies actually don't end up not knowing their real waste, and they might reporting that they produce more than they actually produce, or even way less than uh, they can actually produce. So either they are under undermining themselves or greenwash without meaning to do it.
Yeah.
And this is out of their control most times. So there is a lot that has to be done to advance. Here at Circular Unity, we're really committed to figure it out how we can measure every single metric needed to measure sustainability in the most accurate way. And this is one of the problems that we have been facing, and now we are solving it as well. Bram, how do you educate your clients on this thematic of sustainability versus greenwashing? What is like, for example, did you had any case of some misconceptions that clients of ours had, or how would you address in a scenario like this?
Well, with the Green Panther Summit, we had one of the key speakers was a specialist in communication, and she spoke about the HELIC model. It needs to be you need to be honest. I think that's important. You need to be evidence backed. You need to give facts and figures. You need to give L from lifestyle, the whole lifestyle, not one element, but the complete. When you have when you have a service, you also have the transport, and sometimes the transport to the supplier that brings the services. And we also need to include, for example, transport of visitors, because sometimes I hear we measure our carbon footprint, but we didn't measure the impact of our visitors. So that's, for me, part of the lifestyle. It needs to be with a lot of information, and you need to compare apples with apples. You cannot compare an event with 20,000 people compared to an event with 200 people. So for me, I think it's really, to be honest, I've never said that our event is sustainable. We work towards a more sustainable event, and we do initiatives that have an impact, still a small impact, but we try to find meaningful things, and yeah, it will take time to become sustainable, but we are not yet after 3 years of doing things. So all these specific wording is really important. To learn from each other is really important. Yeah, that's I
Is a
think
journey.
it's a journey, yeah, and again, one event, one industry will not create a more sustainable world. So we are still at the beginning of that.
Thank you, bro. Uh, Wise advice here. Uh, as we look to the future, how do you envision the events industry after 2030? And to add a little bit on that, what role do you see sustainability playing? Also, maybe technology there, and what changes that you anticipate in the ways that events will be planned and executed?
Well, as we just said, the world is transforming, transitioning to sustainability worldwide. But our industry, the events industry, is also transitioning to a more sustainable business. For me, it's not a coincidence that during COVID, our event industry was affected very hard. We had to transition from a more artisan business to a more mature business. And sustainability will be a key element in that, um, to make it more sustainable, to give it, to redefine the purpose, the mission of our events, what is the social role of our events, but to make it a more sustainable business, sustainable event business. It will have to be also not included with key elements as sustainability, but as also artificial intelligence, as also tech, as also content, as also we really need to re-evaluate our business models. If we say that in 2030 we will have to reduce by 55% our carbon emissions, we will have we'll have another business model, because we will have to do things differently. But that's also a big opportunity here, because if we are still in the beginning of that phase, that means that we will have to do so many things differently. We have so much opportunities if we do things differently. We need other people in our industry. We will need sustainability experts. We will need data experts. We will need experts in artificial intelligence. So that's not the same business and business model anymore as it was 20 years ago when I started. So that gives so much opportunity, and we are a business of innovation. We are a business of creative people, so we should not be scared. I think the future for event business is really brightful. People will, after COVID, want to meet in person, not only digital. Digital is an added value to our business to make it more a sustainable business. So I only look positive to the future, and I think everybody needs to find this unique position in that. Everybody has his specialties, his own experience, his own passion, and we need everyone to make that transition. So, yeah, we are still in the beginning, and we should not be afraid about the future.
Bram, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights and experience. Your work is truly inspiring and is making a significant impact in the events industry. Um,
Can I just add one thing?
Definitely, definitely. Please say whatever you want to our listeners as you wish.
I don't want to last it too long, but I really want to share that, because we often speak about sustainability. Sustainability is still confusing for people. Most of us understand the environmental aspect. We include more and more the social aspect, but we should not forget the business. We are still in a business. People are in a business, and that's why it's so important keep to redefine and change these business models. So I think it's like we said before, people don't do things because they have to. They do things because they want to, and at a certain moment they will have to change, of course. But yeah, we are in a business, and we should do things in balance, with social, with environmental, and with business as well.
One
And
thing
I
that I
miss.
I try to take to my customers, and is completely aligned to this, is that, uh, well, every business wants to be more resilient, more efficient as well. Yeah, because the more efficient you are, the more profitable you are. And
Exactly.
there's countless researches from all the big names across the internet that you can read that link sustainability to higher profitability and higher visibility of your organization. So, in my humble opinion, if you're not becoming sustainable today, you're leaving money on the table and you're not doing the right thing, to be honest.
Hmm.
So it's more than time for all of us to really start taking the first steps and advance to the second, to the third, to the fourth step until we get to a point that we are all working to make a regenerative economy and also thriving businesses, sustainable models like you mentioned, Bram.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, Bra. For listeners today who want to learn more about Green Panther sustainability event consultants, I'm gonna be leaving in the comment Bran's contact, LinkedIn, Facebook, and website as well. Feel free to reach him out to learn more about the work he's doing. And thank you all for tuning in into another episode of Sustainable Events Podcast. Remember that sustainability is not just a trend, it's the future, and the future we make today. Let's work today to make our events more sustainable and impactful. Until next time, stay inspired and keep pushing the boundaries.
Welcome to the Sustainable Events Podcast, where we talk with our special guests about the most up-to-date topics in sustainability and tech for events. This podcast is powered by Circular Unity, the company accelerating a future of sustainable smart events.